Setting up the export from Electrical Bid Manager to on-screen takeoff. In the Electrical Bid Manager program, on the navigation panel under Tools, first select Export to On-Screen Takeoff. Just hit OK to bypass this menu. This is covered in the later session. The first time you open up this window, the left panel of the screen will be empty. What we need to do here is select from the database the assemblies and items that you want to have exported for every job that you do in Electrical Bid Manager. Now this setup can be modified later, or you can have more than one setup. For now, a simple setup to start with would be to single click on Assemblies Pre-Built, hit Add in the middle. You'll see it moves it to the left. Then I'm also going to add the folder for miscellaneous items. And then I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it with my name or my initials. I'll just put in BJH. Now this becomes the default setup. You can see that you can have as many different setups as you want, so each user can have their own setup, or you can have different setups for different types of jobs. Okay, so now to export a job to the on-screen takeoff, we actually create a job in EBM just like we normally would. So under Job File and New, I'm going to give the job a name. And for what we're doing here, I don't need to do anything else. I'm just going to hit OK. And then I'm going to go down to Tools. And when I hit Export, again, we can just hit OK here. And that setup we just did is over here on the left. So to export this job to on-screen takeoff, we just hit Export. We'll talk about areas later, but we don't need to do anything besides hit OK here. And then this file name should come up, EBM 2013 jobs. I'm going to hit Save. And it's going to export all these assemblies and these items into the on-screen takeoff program. Now, in addition to the assemblies, all the assemblies I just selected on the setup, it's also going to export what we call the saved assemblies. Those are the assemblies that you're going to use for taking off things like fixtures and feeders, all of the saved assemblies that are part of the takeoff modules in EBM. Those go over automatically, so you don't need to specify that. They'll be there without having to set that up. Notice that we're doing this export without the on-screen takeoff program open yet. We're going to start that up after the export is finished. Now this export took about a minute. It'll depend on the speed of your computer and the amount of items that you export. And you need to do this for every new job. So now I'm going to start up the on-screen takeoff program. Now obviously I'm doing this on one screen for the training video here, but you could have this on two screens at the same time. Would be the better way to run the two programs at the same time. So you'll see the new job here. Now the first time you come in here, you might need to go up to File and Open, and make sure that the heading here, this option for EBM 2013 jobs, is checked. Once you check that, it stays that way, and you won't have to do that again. It'll be there for every job that you export from now on. So now to go to the actual images, we go up to Image here. And this is where you bring in the drawings that you're going to work on with the job for electronic takeoff. The easiest way to do this is under Cover Sheet. And then I'm going to come down here to the middle of the screen and click under the heading that says Image File. This little magnifying glass will let me pull up the files that we want to access. Now we put two files in here every time you export a job. This one called E30119 and A08 will always be in this folder under OST, which is under the OCS documents on your C drive. Now you can bring these drawings in from anywhere. This is just where we put them as a default, so that you've got something easy to grab for training and testing purposes. For now I'm just going to pick up the one image for E30119. I'm going to hit Open. I'm going to go ahead and add one more with the plus sign down here. And then the magnifying glass, I'm going to grab the one A08. So now you'll see I've got two drawings to work with on this job. It automatically brings in the project name, the job name from EBM, the job number from EBM, and the estimator's name comes from EBM. I'm just going to hit OK. So there's my image on the right. Now in this little window here, the first time you open up this interface with on-screen takeoff, you may need to do a couple more setup things. If you right click in this window, make sure that you have the option for group by type unchecked. So uncheck that option. And you also may need to resize the headings up here for the number and name. You want it to be far enough over that you can see the colors of the marks it's going to make on the drawing. You may also need to widen this panel of the screen so that you can see the name and the quantity. So you may need to play around with these headings up at the top here. Once you get them set up, it should look pretty much like this would be a good setup. It will stay that way. You won't have to resize it every time you create a new job or use the on-screen takeoff program. The next video will cover how you actually do the takeoff and import it, export it back to the Electrical Bin Manager program.